This story takes place in Flushing, a small neighborhood within Queens, New York. For those of you who are familiar with the area, the specific house is between the big cemetery and Queens College. So, about 3 years ago, I lived in this pretty nice house. It was 3 rooms with a full kitchen and an attic for only $1,300 a month. For all of you who rent apartments, you know how great a deal this was. There was also a large cemetery about 6 or 7 blocks away, but it really has nothing to do with my story. So, anyway, after moving all my stuff into the new place, I started to explore. All the rooms, all the nooks and crannies, and whatnot. I noticed that the room that I had chosen, which was the smaller one as I let my mom have the larger room, had a small piece of paper above the door. Yeah, I still live with my mom. Get over it. The paper was placed flat on the wall between the top of the door and the ceiling. All that was on it were a few Chinese letters. Now, I'm Chinese, but I can't read Chinese for shit, so I had no idea what it said, but I have seen those types of paper before. Basically, they're old traditions about monsters, usually vampires, that have a piece of paper attached to their head, hat, or whatever. Just Google Chinese vampires and look at some of the pictures. That's what this paper above my door looked like. I asked my landlord, a semi-old white woman, about it. She said that the last guy to live in the house was very superstitious, so I just brushed it off. I left that paper there, though, because seriously, who wants to mess with something like that? My room had this very deep closet. It was narrow, but it took a good 4 or 5 steps to get to the far side of it. After checking out my room, I headed up to the attic. The landlord previously told me, or sort of warned me, not to let anyone sleep in the attic. Whether or not this had anything to do with my story, you'll have to decide on your own. She said it gets extremely hot up there during the summer or something. I had a room, my mom had hers, so it didn't matter much to me. I walked upstairs to a 2-roomed attic that had the door between them removed. The first room had nothing inside, but the second room had a couch sitting in the middle of it. Nothing around it, no tables, lamps, light fixtures, or anything else. Just a dirty white couch in the middle. I decided not to fuck with it or sit in it because seriously, would you plop down on a couch that the last tenant just left in your new house? That's kinda gross. So everything was sorted out and the place started to feel like home. A few months passed and some weird things started to happen. I would stay up very late, most of the time on my laptop while sitting on my bed, and on a few random nights my closet door would just swing open. Not swing open as in that long creaky shit that happens in the movies. I'm talking swing open like someone had just roundhoused the door. The first time it happened, I was scared shitless. My bed was facing the closet, so I looked up scared as shit and saw nothing. The closet door was just flat against the wall and nothing but darkness was in the closet. No demon eyes, no shadowy figure, just pitch darkness. I got up, closed the door, and went back to my laptop. This event started happening more and more frequently, and since I always had a window fan installed, I figured it was just some really strong draft. The fact that I couldn't close my closet door all the way supported my theory. The locking mechanism on it would have prevented it from swinging open like that. As I'm writing this, I just realized that I should have just put something heavy in front of the door, but whatever, it's too late to do something about that. I told my mom about it and apologized for the noise in the middle of the night, but she said that she never heard anything. I found it kind of odd since the door slammed pretty loudly into the wall. A little more than half a year after moving in, we decided to move out. We found a cheaper but smaller apartment and decided to go with it. My friend knows people who work for a moving company, so we hired a few workers to move all our stuff out. While we were packing up all our things, I set up a radio in my room to listen to while I was busy putting everything into boxes. I went to the bathroom and, upon leaving my room, closed my door. Not by accident or anything, I just had a habit of closing doors behind me. I took a piss and went back to my room. I opened the door and stood there for a moment, then closed it and opened it again. That's when I noticed that I couldn't hear anything coming from my room when the door was closed. The radio was pretty loud, yet I couldn't hear the faintest sound coming from it when the door was shut. This actually really weirded me out, more than the closet door opening in the middle of the night, since this seemed less explainable. Then I realized that maybe that's why my mom never heard the slams. Still thinking about it, I continued to pack. I went into my closet to get my clothes. I swung the closet door open and held it flat against the wall. I didn't want to keep opening and closing it as I walked in and out. But the door wouldn't stay flat against the wall. I would open it all the way, then it would creak back a bit into a 70-degree angle. This is where I started to get creeped out. All those nights that the door slammed open, it was at a complete 180. The only way it could stay like that was if something held it open. Freaking out, I grabbed all my shit in the closet ASAP and threw it up onto my bed. I did not want to stand in that long, narrow closet any longer. I went up to the attic to check on the workers. They had just finished clearing the attic and asked me about the white couch. I told them it wasn't mine and to just leave it be. They shrugged, put it back down, and went downstairs. As I turned to follow them, something on the floor caught my eye. An extremely black, burnt-looking mark stuck out from underneath the couch. I walked over and pushed the couch out of the way, gasping at what I saw. There, sitting at my feet, was a large pentagram burned into the carpet. I quickly called the workers back, and we stared at it for the longest time. Expressions of confusion were exchanged, then a few chuckles. I wasn't laughing, though, especially after they pointed out that this pentagram was right above my room. I was going to go downstairs, finish packing, and get the fuck out of that house. As I took the last box from my room, I looked one last time at my room, at my closet, and at the paper above the door. The top right corner of the paper was falling off a little bit. I felt a sudden, deep urge to rip it off, but I held back the temptation and brought my shit outside. It's been about 3 to 4 years since I've lived there, but I still think about it a lot. About a year ago, I went to my aunt's house for my cousin's birthday party. I've been there before, but on that day I noticed something that I'd never noticed before. As I was taking off my shoes, I looked up. Above the door to her house, stuck in between the top of the door and the ceiling, was a very similar piece of paper. This piece was different, though, as the Chinese letters were very faint, as if it was flipped and facing the wall instead of facing me. I asked my aunt about it, and she told me it was some sort of charm to keep evil spirits away. It haunts me now. What if I had succumbed to the urge of ripping the paper off the wall? Is that paper still there? It was peeling off the last time I saw it. Did the next resident fix it? Or worse, did someone remove it? She told me what the Chinese letters meant. Literally translated, it said, "No entry beyond." I asked her why she had the piece of paper flipped around, and the words she told me next scarred me forever. It's supposed to be that way. The characters on the paper are supposed to face where evil spirits will come from. I stood there frozen. A feeling of enormous dread swept over me. That man, that superstitious bastard of a man that lived in that house before me, wasn't trying to keep evil spirits from entering that room. He was trying to keep something from leaving.